Hello everyone and welcome back for another episode of Showtimes. With me as usual is my good friend Jerrad.
Hello.
And today we are talking about The Mandalorian Season 2, Episodes 3 and 4. And you know what, I'm just going to go ahead and say this. The last time we got an episode from Bryce Dallas Howard, it was the episode where Mando was on the planet, and I've made my opinions known about that. And while I have softened on that, I do definitely think it is the lesser of the episodes. Her second outing this time, worlds better.
And I thoroughly enjoyed this episode for multiple reasons.
We're going to go ahead and talk about episode 3, The Heiress, which I think was a really, really well done episode. Super good. And I genuinely look forward to whatever she has got up her sleeve next as far as program and direction.
I'm just gonna go on the record. I was wrong. Sasha Banks was not playing who I thought she was.
No, you were. You were definitely wrong this time, which is weird. Usually, you're able to call this stuff pretty darn well.
Okay, so I was slightly off. I was expecting Sabine. Instead, we got Bo-Katan, which is awesome.
Yes, who I did not know was a part of the expanded universe. You explained that to me, and you also explained that she was voiced by Katie Sackhoff, who reprised her role. And you know what? I'm just going to go ahead and say this. If anybody is going to be Mandalore, you can do a hell of a lot worse than Starbuck.
This is true. She was actually the Mandalore in Rebels. The item in question she, of course, is looking for to reclaim that title would be the Darksaber.
Yes, which I'm still just on because who needs it? Who needs it?
Mandalorians, it's their like rite of passage.
No, they don't. They're cool enough as it is without this. They're cool, okay?
It's their history, Sean. Okay. It's how they recognize a leader.
I'm going to give a little bit of an asterisk there on the end. They are cool so long as their suits don't look like Power Ranger suits, which that's a big knock against the production. Bo-Katan looked fairly interesting. I looked up her suit, and it was cool to see her design come to life in real space. That was neat. I like that. The other two with her, though, did not fare as well. Those guys, yeah, they looked like they were off of the set for the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers reboot that they did.
I mean, their armor was made to look like Night Owl armor, I believe, which is a certain. They're a group of Mandalorians, like they're a unit, like a soldier unit. Bo-Katan had the crest on her thing, but their armor could have possibly. So I've looked this up in doing my research in Mandalorian stuff. Their armor can either be Beskar steel or something called Durasteel, which is not quite as good as Beskar. I think that's what he originally had before he upgraded.
Possibly. Isn't Durasteel supposed to be like what they make the starships out of?
I think so. I don't know. It's just like their second. It's what they use when they don't use Beskar, because apparently Beskar is super rare. Right. After the Great Purge, which mostly the Great Purge happened in Rebels, which basically somebody built a Mandalorian actually built something when she was an Imperial cadet. It was Sabine Wynn. That actually basically nullified Beskar steel and fucked a lot of people.
Okay. I guess if you say so. I have no.
In return, then turned around. The Empire used it against Mandalorians in the Great Purge, and then she turned around and destroyed it because she was on the rebel side at that point in time. That's a different show altogether, though.
And there were no repercussions for her days as an Imperial officer, so long as she fought with the good guys.
Well, she was a cadet. She was a prodigy cadet, and this was like a project she had built to neutralize other shit, and they turned it into neutralizing Beskar.
Right. I get you. No, I was just talking about the hideous hypocrisy of Star Wars. There's issue. There's actually one really good issue of the comic series that dealt with a friend of Luke's who became an Imperial officer, and he pretended like he was defecting to the rebels, and all the time he's talking with Luke and gathering information, and Luke starts talking about how cool it was on the trench run to the Death Star and to watch it blow up and save millions of lives, and he's just like, there were families on that thing. Like, people died, man. It's very interesting to look at that aspect from the other side, and it's something that Star Wars doesn't usually get into.
It's like looking at warring nations. Like, it's, people die in war. It's war.
Right.
People die.
Right.
But yeah.
it doesn't help if you just blanketly state how one group is specifically good, the other group is entirely bad.
Well, I mean, a solid argument that can be made, yes, they did blow up the Death Star and kill hundreds or thousands of troops, but then again, the Death Star blew up an entire planet.
No, I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say that the Empire was guiltless in any of this, but it is one of those things that's interesting to look at things from the other side of it. Like, there were people who probably never knew that the Death Star was out there blowing up planets. They just knew it as a massive space station that the Empire was using to help quell lawlessness out in the galaxy.
True. Well, we're veering off subject.
We are veering off topic, but let's go ahead and get into the episode, because Mando's ship has still been damaged, and he delivered the Frog Lady to her one true love, and for whatever reason, he let the child stay with them. And I think somebody behind the scenes recognized the error in the previous episode where the child keeps eating other of the Frog Lady's eggs.
I mean, he got his. He got ate by a giant, water monster.
Right. That happens.
After he got screwed over, because,
did
the
they
frog
have
guy
any particular reason to try and fuck with him? Because as far as I remember, they just
wanted his Beskar.
Oh, they wanted the Beskar? Okay. Is that just, identifiable on site? Because it just kind of looks like high-polished metal.
I mean, maybe he should spray paint it like Bo-Katan's armor is.
Maybe.
Because, they're like, the Beskar steel will be ours. Ha 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 ha.
Right, so Mando gets told that there's a whole bunch of other Mandalorians, and he can, this one dude can take him there, and he's like, all right, I've got to go do this now. Let's go.
Well, we get a glimpse of one of those Mandalorians, real quick. She's in a hood, being all mysterious, and it's like, ooh, there she is.
Do you think am I the only one who thinks that it's weird that they used that shot, in all the promotional footage they were talking about finding the Jedi or this mystical race of space wizards or whatever, and that is the shot that they used every single time, and then when it comes down to it, that is not a Jedi at all?
It's misdirection.
I know it's misdirection, but
because they were so tight-lipped on... That's the person I was talking about. That was Sasha Banks. Right. And, they didn't even use her wrestling name on this. They used her real name, which is, Mercedes something.
Right.
But, it was meant to be misdirection, and because they only showed her, everyone's like, oh, she's gonna be that, everybody only showed her, so you thought that was the Mandalorian he was gonna find, and that's when everyone started assuming it was Sabine.
Right. No, whoever they've got on their marketing department, I either want to punch them or applaud them, and I'm never sure which one I should do. Because they do that misdirection really, really well, and it works. Eventually, Mando goes on his little quest to try and find more Mandalorians, and then they're like, oh, hey, we've got this big fish that we feed. The kid would love seeing this. Bring it to the edge.
That totally sounded like a trap. And
right?
I'm like,
when it happened, I'm just like, you know what, Mando, you kind of deserve this. You should have seen this.
He's being kind of pushy about it. Maybe there's something up, and then he's like, "Ah!" and like hits it with the kid with the spear, and then the kid shoots his little. That's the kid's revenge, though, for eating those 3 eggs. See, he got eaten alive.
My headcanon is that these guys just used the Beskar as a bonus incentive, and that the entire thing was orchestrated by that frog lady who sent a secret transmission and was like, "Hey, this little shit's been eating all of my offspring. Make it pay." And they're like, "Yeah, all right." And then they smack it in there and it's like, "That's for the younglings. That will never happen." Oh, and we're collecting your Beskar.
Yeah. Well, then the 3 Mandalorians show up and save his ass.
Yes. The 3 Mandalorians jetpack out of nowhere. And they all take off their helmets. And he's like, What the hell? What's this? What's wrong with you people?"
It's finally revealed, and finally Star Wars explains why some Mandalorians remove their helmets and others do not.
See, I never had this question, and I always kind of thought that was what was going on, because it turns out that Mando is part of a, not a disgraced sect, but definitely a more fanatical sect of the Mandalorian belief system.
Yeah, and, it's basically like a different type of religion.
Yeah, and I was like, oh, okay, well, yeah, that makes sense.
Well,
and it never bothered me that other people did this, and I'm like, who gives a shit?
Well, it's just weird to me that he didn't know about this, like that there are other Mandalorians who take their helmets off.
That is more than a little weird. That should have somebody should have said something about that. Like, he learned in Mandalorian grade school, and they're like, "Now remember, little children, never remove your helmets. There are others who might, but ours is the correct way of doing this."
Well, it also could have been that he was trained like after the Great Purge or whatever.
This is possible. They keep alluding to this Great Purge, which I don't mind if they never show it, but it would be interesting to touch on this. But again, that could be something they lead up to in season 3 or something.
I think it'll be touched on later in the season. With
maybe I have thoughts.
I'll get to why I think that's going to happen after we discuss what happened in the next episode.
Yes,
but he basically like rockets off, and he's like, "You're not. I'm not joining up with you. I got my own shit to do.
Right.
You're not my type of Mandalorians. I'm out." And he rockets off. And then he's of course
blows up the ship on the way out, because just middle finger to him anyway.
No, he didn't. They did.
Did they? I thought I could have sworn he was the one who did.
No, he's sitting at the dock looking at it all.
That's right.
And they do, and then like that guy's brother though tries to jump him. It's like, "You killed my brother. Now I'm gonna kill you." And then they jetpack back down, and they're like,
Starbuck jumps in and is like, "No, motherfucker, I killed your brother, and I'm gonna kill you too, just for the hell of it."
And they of course wipe everybody out, and then they're like, "We should have a conversation."
Can we just talk for a minute about Katie Sackhoff's roller coaster career she's had this last couple of years? Because she went from being on one of the most popular and then infamous TV shows with Battlestar Galactica. She was obviously Starbuck on that. And that went from being really, really good to having a final season that completely and totally shit the bed. And then she really wasn't in anything for a while. And then she was on this Netflix show. I want to say it was Netflix anyway, about a bunch of people in space that was really, really terrible.
I don't know what show that's called.
I don't either. It's basically unlikable people doing unlikable things to each other, and it's like, why am I watching this? Just
Dark Matter?
Shut it off. I think that's it, yeah. And that was like the next big thing I saw her in.
Well, she, like I said, she was also doing like a little bit of voice acting with Rebels and Clone Wars.
But I'm just hitting the big stuff.
She did this character twice.
Yeah, I'm just hitting the big stuff that like everybody saw her in. Because she did that, and before that she was in that really crappy Pitch Black soft reboot. And
Chronicles of Riddick, or
was it
Riddick?
Chronicles of Riddick? I think it was just Riddick. It was the one where it was basically Pitch Black again.
On the planet, yeah, that was Riddick.
Yeah, that was Riddick. She was in that. She was in Dark Matter, and now she's in this. And it's just like you went through two really low peaks and just kind of waffled into the middle where people understood and liked what you did, and then all of a sudden, boom, back on top with a massively popular TV series now.
I'm sure she's done other.
Oh, I'm sure
things.
I'm sure she has, but this is like, again, I'm just talking about the big stuff that like everybody would watch and see her in, even just in like the sci-fi realm.
I was about to say she's been in a couple of things.
Right.
She was in 24. I didn't know that.
Was she in 24?
She was in 24. She was in a show called Longmire. She was in Bionic Woman, the TV show.
I didn't know they did a reboot of the Bionic Woman.
Yeah, it lasted a year. It was not good.
Right.
Few episodes of The Big Bang Theory, Mandalorian. I'm not seeing the sci-fi show you're talking about. I don't think it was Dark Matter. I'm seeing like Another Life.
That might. I don't know. That might be. I don't know. I remember it being absolutely terrible, and like I had zero reason to watch past the first episode they were all in.
Okay, it might have been like a Netflix movie. I don't know.
No, it was a TV show. They had like multiple episodes where it was stupid thing after stupid thing. But anyway, yeah, it's nice to see her doing something she looks like she cares about.
She also, like, they nailed it. Like, she looks exactly like her cartoon counterpart. It's I'm sure kind of awesome.
I'm sure that's because they modeled the character based on the actress herself. I mean,
probably.
She cuts a very, very distinct figure and profile, just in person.
I think at the time, too, they were like, we may be able to throw her in a movie eventually.
Maybe.
We'll make millions of these.
She's got to be desperate after that Riddick movie. I mean, did you see that piece of shit? No, you didn't. No one did.
I actually did, because a certain somebody was obsessed with those movies, and a person I don't talk about anymore. You know who I'm talking about.
I know exactly who you're talking about. We won't get into that if you don't want to.
No. Nah.
That's not going to stop me from shitting on Riddick, though. That movie was ass.
It was better than the Chronicles of Riddick.
Which is somehow impressive, and at the same time not impressive, because I recently started watching little clips of that movie, and I completely forgot Carl Urban was in that. And there's there's just a scene where this dude removes his helmet, and it's Carl Urban. I'm just like, oh, hey, man, I didn't know you were in this hot piece of ass.
Carl Urban's in everything Carl Urban can be in.
Yeah, I'm not sure if he has either the best agent or he needs to get a new one, because he pops up in the weirdest shit.
He was Judge Dredd, and he is killing it as Butcher on The Boys.
If you say so. I'm not a huge fan of The Boys. Like, on a fundamental level, I dislike it. So, but that's just me.
I mean, it's to each their own.
Yeah, we might do a breakdown of The Boys and why I'm not a huge fan of it. But that's a conversation for another time, because we're talking about Star Wars and we need to get back on track to Star Wars.
Yeah, we do.
We spent the last 5 minutes talking about everything but Star Wars.
Yeah, we got to get better about this.
We're terrible podcasters. Why do people listen? Oh, wait, they don't. I've seen my metrics.
Hey, I've told you on ways to boost the numbers. We just got to work on this.
I'm telling you, I am not going back to the back alleys to boost the numbers. I left that life. I will not go back.
You know that's not what I'm talking about. Anyway, so the Mandalorians show up and they murder a whole bunch of folks, and then they make him an offer. They're like, we need to rob some Imperial stuff. We actually do know where a Jedi is.
Am I the only one who's suspected a double cross here?
I mean, I expected that she wasn't being forthcoming about something.
Yeah, there's definitely...
But I knew eventually somebody was going to have to lead him to Ahsoka Tano, so I was like, this is gonna be it. She'll be legit because also the characters are confirmed in more episodes down the way.
Right.
I know this because of like listening to interviews with Sasha Banks talking about how she is in like 3 or 4 episodes.
Right.
So.
Well, that wasn't really what I was looking at. I fully thought that they were just going to use Mando as a fall guy for when all this happened, because they go in and they clear like everybody out pretty damn well. Like it gets to a point where I'm sitting there, I'm like, Mando hasn't fired his gun at all.
It's a ship of stormtroopers. Like,
right?
What do you? She just thought that maybe they might need a force. I guess I don't know, but
it's one of those things that rubbed me the wrong way. Is all.
He came in like clutch there in the last second where he had to run and take off. That's what makes me think they don't have Beskar, is because he was taking fucking blaster fire and then he threw those bombs.
Right. No, that could be it, but that seems like one of those things that'd be hard to plan for. Like, you would almost have to be psychic to see that coming.
I don't know, but they did kind of do a little bit of a double cross where they were like, actually, we're not going to rob these people and steal some crates. We're taking the whole goddamn ship.
Yeah, I can see that.
And then they basically just clear out all these fucking stormtroopers.
Yeah.
And this fucking idiot general, and I know that's like somebody famous who was just there for a cameo.
Yeah, no,
but like,
I've seen him before.
He's like, they're in the cargo bay control room. And it's like, they're in what room? The cargo bay control. Koosh, and they open the cargo bay door.
Yeah, no, there's that brief moment where you can just see the guy in command. He's just like, I'm surrounded by idiots, and when I kill myself for the greater good of the Empire, I just get a sweet release from all of this.
Well, it's then they like message and they call Moff Gideon, who they are like, we need reinforcements, and he was like, how many are there? He's like, oh, everyone's dead except us. He was like,
well, you know what you gotta
do. Reinforcements ain't coming. You know what you need to do. And then he effectively pew pew, and then the Mandalorians get to him in time before he does that to himself.
This is something I have issue with. Like, this should have been the reveal that Gideon is alive, not at the end of season 1 where he cuts his way out with the Darksaber. Like, everything that happens here basically makes the end scene of season 1 completely and totally pointless. Like, I think this would have been a much better reveal. It's like, oh shit, Gideon's alive? How did he survive? What's this Darksaber they're talking about? The Mandalorians clearly want it, and that would set up more intrigue behind it. And...
well, Sean, we all know why they revealed it at the end of season 1.
To sell toys.
They could have a toy out by Christmas time, because if they had held the brakes for about 2 more episodes, that would have given you roughly 2 weeks to release it in stores. So I've already seen this thing at Walmart. I'm just saying.
No, I understand why it is done this way, but I hate that it's done this way.
I mean, I called it. I called this so many times that thing was going to pop up.
You have the eye for schlock. You can predict when the dumbest thing is going to happen.
And cue the white guy.
Those of you who are wondering, that's a bit of a review of, apart from a review we did about a not Bruce Lee movie.
That was like, God, 3 years ago?
Was it 3 years ago? Holy crap.
It's been a while.
Either way, they tell Mando
about...
Hey, you got it. They tell Mando where he can go to drop the child off with more Jedi, and Katie Sackhoff makes the offer, is like, hey, you're pretty good. Mandalore needs people who are really good. Check us out.
Before that, she is pointing a blaster at this dude she's like, does he have it? Does he have the Darksaber?
Right.
And he does, apparently, the first time we've ever seen this in Star Wars, the Empire's equivalent to popping a cyanide capsule.
Yes.
And he fries his brain with, an electric bomb in his tooth.
Right. No, that I like that a lot. I think that's a really cool aspect.
Yep.
But
yeah, and then she's like, "You should
they
join."
say their goodbyes, and he's like, "Nope, not doing it." And they're like, "Well, if you ever change your mind,
here's where Ahsoka Tano is. Tell her I sent you."
Yeah, they never mention it. Did they mention her by name?
Yeah.
Okay. I did not remember that.
She said, "Go to this planet. There you will find Ahsoka Tano. Tell her Bo-Katan sent you."
Okay. I, for whatever reason, that part blanked in my mind.
I just rewatched the episode, so it's fresh in my mind.
So he goes and he finds the child who's been staying with the frog lady, and apparently
one of her egg hatched.
Yes, and I'm all but certain that the child was trying to eat the tadpole as it began to grow.
I don't think so, because I think he had like two things tried at like. In this episode, the child had like, 3 things that tried to eat him?
Something like that, yeah.
There was the thing that attacked him in his soup, and then there was the giant sea monster, and then at the end of the show, you see this little creepy crawly thing slowly coming down, and Mando just catches it and smashes it.
Because apparently he has eyes in the back of his helmet, I guess.
He's that good.
He's just that good. He's Star Wars Batman.
They barely fixed his fucking shit.
Yeah, no, this was the equivalent of taking your car when it really needs a servicing done to that really cheap place down the road, down in the bad part of town, and you're like, "Hey, can you fix this up?" And they're like, "Oh, sure, we can fix this up, no problem." And then they pump you full of like discount oil.
It's basically the equivalent of he paid $1,000 for like maybe a $300 job is what he got out of it.
Yeah.
Like they fueled it up. They like welded just some random fucking metal on it. Like it looked better than it was, but still, it was still pretty shitty.
It got him what he needed.
He fly. Well, no, it doesn't, and that's right.
That's what leads us into
the next episode. Sweet, smooth transitions. Indeed. I just turned on my camera for some reason.
You can't buy transitions this good enough. We are
segue.
Perfect. That's why we're hitting the big times with this. So we go into episode 4 of The Siege, where he meets back up with Carl Weathers and the Rebel Trooper.
We don't even know his name. We just call him Carl Weathers.
I don't know his name, and you know what? I'm okay just calling him Carl Weathers, because Carl Weathers is a badass dude.
Well, fun fact, Carl Weathers also directed this episode.
He did. I don't know if Carl Weathers has directed anything else. I'm genuinely impressed, and I would like to see more of what he does.
Yep.
At least
we have our new Marshal of this planet that is also the Rebel Shock Trooper from last season.
Yeah. She's the law in this here town.
Yeah, well, like the first thing you see after they're like, well, I guess we should, I think the planet's name is like Naveen or something like that. And they're like, we should go back here. It's close by, and they owe us some favors.
Yeah.
And like then it cuts to her in what used to be the Forge, and a bunch of the walrus-like people that Obi-Wan Kenobi chopped up in Episode 4
I believe that the term is Aqualish.
Walrus
I could
people.
Be completely wrong. I don't really give a shit, but yeah.
But she effectively goes in and just kicks all their asses and murders all of them.
Yes.
Apparently they were just like a thieves guild or something.
I think they were just a bunch of marauders or something that were going around taking people's stuff, and she just pops in, busts all the heads open.
And then gets her own pet weasel.
Yeah, which that was one really, really cheap looking weasel. I'm just gonna say that. Like it
wasn't great.
It was not. It looked bad. Like for something that has done a really, really good job with their props and their puppetry, like this thing looked like it was straight out of Kung Pao Enter the Fist. And I was just like, Wow!
Yeah.
I didn't know we could go this cheap on this show. I thought there was a budget restrictions, like you have to spend this much money.
I don't know. Maybe it was a joke Carl Weathers wanted to throw in there. Like,
He's just behind the scenes. He's like, ever since Rocky IV, I've always wanted to throw a weasel in there. Not a good weasel, but a really crappy looking weasel, just to see if I could do it.
This episode isn't terrible, but I have some directing notes for Carl Weathers.
Oh, okay, sure. Let's see this. Let's hear what you have to say about Mr. Carl Weathers, seeing as how you've directed nothing and he's directed something.
I, in fact, have directed something. It was called Supernatural Seekers. Thank you.
My God, that's right.
3 episodes, baby.
3 episodes, all on YouTube.
Yep. But
episode 4 coming never.
I don't even know what happened to the cast. Like half the cast, I don't talk to anymore.
Hey, you gotta sever some ties sometimes.
So anyway, half the so when they land on the planet, and they meet up with Carl Weathers and the Marshall Shock Trooper.
Yep.
That's what I'm going to call her from now on. And he's like, hey, how's my credit here? And they're like, we can do you a solid. And he's like, I'll put some of my 2 guys on it. And he's like, hey, like they just happen to be there.
Yeah.
He's like, fix it up. This is my first note for Carl Weathers.
Okay.
So when they go and look at the ship, the one person turns around and looks at him for just a little bit too long. And right there, I was like, they're up to something. Something's going to happen with that character.
Well, yeah, I mean, that was very obvious what was going to happen. And I don't have a problem with that. Like, that's a trope that happens in movies a lot. Like, you cannot blame him for that.
Well, it's just if they just had to like cut the shot by like 3 seconds, and like the person just kind of turned around and gave a glance, like, oh, okay, and then like turned back around, like it would have been a shock at the end. I would have been like, son of a bitch.
I don't know. I think I'll hold my judgment until the end when we get to theories.
It might have not been his fault, but then they go.
I don't think that was his fault, because there's a difference between your director and your editor, and I think that's something more based for the editor.
It could have been, but then they go to drop. I think this was what used to be the cantina, where all the bounty hunters met up, and it's now been converted to a school.
Yes.
And they go drop Baby Yoda off, who force steals some space Oreos. Those were some mint Oreo looking space cookies. That's exactly what they looked like. Green Oreos.
It was not even well hidden. You just put these in a silver sleeve. Those are Oreos. Those are mint Oreos that you get, chocolate covered Oreos that you get at Christmas time.
That's what they looked like, and like all the kids were like looking at Baby Yoda, and then Baby Yoda's just like holding his hand out to the kid, asking for the cookie, and the kid's like, "Fuck off!" And then Baby Yoda's like, "Okay," and he's
as the kid should have, because those are his cookies, those are his space Oreos with his space chocolate mint, and then Baby Yoda just steals it, and it's like, oh, so I guess we're just teaching kids to take what they want by force. Just slowly eating them, just kind of, but it's with a little smirk on his face. Yeah.
And then we cut back, and Mando enters. Like, they tell Mando they need to leave the kid there because they need to talk business while they're repairing his ship, and they need his help with something. Enter Mando's first bounty ever. They go to this sheriff's station, and Lord and behold, it's the guy from episode 1. I think his name's like Mithril or
I don't
Menthol,
know.
or it's something that starts with an M. We should really learn the names for future episodes.
I refuse.
Anyway,
he will be Carl Weathers until the day I die.
Anyway,
I don't even remember his name from Rocky. I just know him as Carl Weathers in Rocky.
So they go in, that guy's there, and he's like, oh yeah, he's paying off his debt to me by working for me. He's got about 300 years left.
Yeah.
It's like, oh. I didn't know space people lived that long, but apparently some do. Like, minus Yoda, I didn't know space people lived to 300.
You don't know. You don't know. Obi-Wan could have been 7 billion years old.
You never know.
He just looks super young thanks to those Ewan McGregor genes he had.
But slowly, they explain that there is this basically like one last Imperial outpost that they just need to go get rid of real quick so they can finally have all Imperial presence off the planet.
Yeah, and they say if they can kick them off, then this will become like a trade sanctuary for a lot of people.
Yeah, basically.
And it's like, okay, that makes sense.
So they go and they real quick and they're trying to open the door, and then Mando just jets up and like kills a bunch of stormtroopers and opens the door for them.
Yeah.
Places where that jetpack is convenient.
Hey, it's one of those things. You never know when it's going to come in handy, so wear it all the time, right?
I like the fact that they have not been like massively overusing it, though.
I think this
been
is
nice. Like,
these last 2 episodes have been the most that they've used it, like across the board for Mandalorians. Like even in the very first season, where you had the whole squadron of people who had jetpacks. Like I think we have had more on-screen jetpack time than that entire first season combined now. And yet
probably, but it's still not that much.
No, it's been used very sparingly, which I'm very happy with. Like Star Wars niche and kitsch has been used so sparingly in this series, and I'm so happy for it.
Well, they go through and they start wiping out this base, and they allude, like, the guy's like, hey, look at that stormtrooper transport. That could be worth a lot of money. We could really use that. And they're like, no, we're going to blow that up. Fuck that thing. And then they open a door with like hundreds of speeder bikes. And I'm like, you really should take those speeder bikes out.
Well, again, this is one of those, in theory, this is a very small operation they have. It's manned by a skeleton crew, and it's mostly just a storehouse for them. So when they take out the base, all this other stuff will go. And it's like, okay, good plan. Got it. Like it.
Yeah. And they slowly go through, and it is a small crew that's in there. There are not a lot of stormtroopers. I think there was a few more than they were expecting, but they are able to like sneak in, take out the cameras, and like get into very little stormtrooper confrontation before they set this fucker to blow, and then they come back, and that's when they have the fight scene, and in the hallway where they're shooting at the 2 guys on the desk, and where the Mandalorian makes its own Game of Thrones coffee error.
You told me about this, and I did not see it. I'll have to give it a rewatch.
For a split second, just like the coffee thing in Game of Thrones, when they're firing at the 2 guys that are trying to like wipe the console and destroy it, you can see on the left side, you can see like a guy in a t-shirt with like, you just catch the end of his t-shirt, an arm, and his jeans.
Oops.
And it's for like 2 seconds, but like I guess you're right. It's not Carl Weathers' fault. I think editing should have caught that.
This is something that the editor should have caught in time.
But so I guess my notes are more for the editor than Carl Weathers.
No, you leave Carl Weathers alone.
He did good.
He's a great man. He's helped us.
But then they get to the console, and they find out this is a science lab, and what I think is going on here. My assumption.
Okay, well, hold on. Let's save assumptions for the very end, because I have a couple of assumptions. Well, I'm going to talk about those later. But we find a bunch of deformed bodies in there, and they start talking about using the child's blood to try and experiment on people.
And they bring back the bastard.
Yes.
They don't say the word, but they say, like, M cells or M count or some shit like that. And I'm like, I was like, they did not just do that.
We need to find one with a high enough M count as Lord Vader.
But they talked about an M count,
Yes.
and then how the blood reacted negatively with the test subjects,
Yes.
and he thinks they should suspend all activity until they can once again recover the child.
Yes.
It's like, oh shit, they're still after the kid. Noted.
And that's when Mando figures out.
He needs to get the hell to the kid.
4 episodes after everyone else has known that Moff Gideon's alive. Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, he finds out that Moff Gideon is alive at this point because he has just conveniently missed the conversations. Like, split second too late.
Like, we think he's being this mysterious and aloof individual, but all the while he's actually just like, oh my god, my ears are so stopped up under here, I can't hear a damn thing with this freaking helmet. And then when it comes time for him, I am the Mandalorian. I am stoic.
When Katie Stackhoff was fucking the dude up, she just said, does he have it? She just called him he. She didn't say, hey, does Moff Gideon have the Darksaber?
Yeah.
No.
Which again, that entire last scene still makes me mad.
Speaking of helmet, though, fun fact, this is the first time outside the droid taking Mando's helmet off that we've seen how Mando eats or does anything. He just lifts his helmet up a little bit and, like, takes a drink and then puts his helmet back down.
Yes. Which kind of makes me wonder why the vocoder noise.
I don't know.
Like, this is one of those things that it bothers me that it shouldn't. It bothers me that it bothers me, because this shouldn't be something I should just be like, okay, whatever. But every time I think about this now, I know there's nothing there to, there's not a radio link he's talking into, or there should be a speaker device, because there's no reason for that to be there, and so that sound effect is just, why is it there?
No, there's a noise. There was a noise whenever he was lifting his helmet up. It was like a ka-ch, like that helmet is sealed on his head.
I did not hear that.
There was a noise.
I did not hear. Okay. Then you've alleviated my frustrations, then, Jerrad. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. There is a noise when he was lifting the helmet up. I heard it.
But they are still talking about midichlorians in the show now.
All right. Well, he realizes he needs to get back to the child, so the others are just like, "Go, get the hell, jetpack back. It's faster for you. We know that."
Yeah, and so it does a really nice job cutting between Mando's escape and they're trying to escape, and it's very action packed, and I genuinely like what they did with it.
Yeah, and well, after he takes off in his rocket pack, we don't see him for about 5-10 minutes.
Yeah, it's solely the other three characters.
It's the other three having this shootout with it, and the blue guy basically just being fucking useless.
Yeah,
he got dicked on a little bit too hard, but
I don't know. He is a pointless character. He should not have been brought along for this.
He was useful where he was useful, but then the other times, I guess he was good at hacking and stuff like that. Like they briefly touched on it because he edited his credit account and basically fixed the books to give himself a lot of money and then took off on Carl Weathers.
Yeah.
But they then jump in this transport that they were like, oh, we're going to blow this thing up. Nope. They jump in it, and then we get a speeder bike and a TIE fighter chase. Yeah. This
is one of those things that if you were to tell me that this was happening, I would have rolled my eyes and been like, oh, that sounds dumb. But while you're in the moment, it's actually really well done. It's got good pacing. It's got good action. All the effects look nice and good. There's never a point where anybody looks like a rubbery CG man. It's well choreographed and well done. And again, I have to compliment Carl Weathers. This is really good. He knows his stuff. He's a veteran of the industry, and so I'll give him the credit he deserves there.
Yeah, like I said, my notes basically are for the editor at this point. So we get to for a second I was like, oh shit, are those TIE fighters gonna make it there? I didn't know where Mando was at the time, and I was like, oh shit, are those TIE fighters going to get there and blow up the whole city, like, as revenge and fuck them up? And then, of course, Mando comes in with his fully repaired ship and, like,
that ship was repaired in record time.
Well, he did say his best mechanics were on it.
They must be wizard mechanics, because that, I don't know.
I don't know, because, like, they put his ship back together in, what, like, 2 days, when they had very little stuff when he was on the planet with the I Have Spoken guy. So,
I guess.
I mean,
I don't know. Again, this is one of those things I shouldn't concern myself with. This is a hand wave thing. Just run with it and be done with it.
Anyway, he blows up all the TIE fighters, and then he's like, thanks for all the help, guys. I really have to get going, though, before Moff Gideon.
Now, before that, I would like to cement that Baby Yoda is a monster, because all the while they're shooting people down, and Baby Yoda's just like, yay! Hands in the air, Kermit the Frog style, and it's like, I get to see more death.
He does act like he's on a roll, and then he does like the little kid thing and spits up.
Yeah.
After everything's all said and done.
I had my joy of seeing life snuffed out. Oops.
And then we immediately see Mando go into like parent mode and start wiping it out.
Yeah.
And then we get a cut to an Imperial base. Ooh.
Yes, and the dude you complained about being the obvious agent turns out to be the obvious agent.
And he's like, we put a tracker. I was like, I knew he had a fucking tracker on that. I knew it was coming.
They were going to do something.
I knew it was coming.
And then
we put a tracker on the Razor's Edge or whatever his ship is called. Razor's Crest. He's like, we put a tracker on it. I was like, of course you did.
And then this woman walks all the way from the bridge to wherever the hell Moff Gideon is just to tell him this, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that's why you guys have walkie-talkies.
Yep. Well, it's there to get us there in a scene where he has like mech suits or like.
This is what I wanted to mention, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to try. I'm pretty sure they're going to try and do the Dark Trooper story.
Okay.
Or a modification thereof, where Dark Troopers are like these enhanced stormtroopers, like mechanically or bioengineered. I'm not sure what angle they're going to go with, but I'm pretty sure that's what they're going to try and do.
I mean, that's what it looks like. They look like power suits, like a suit somebody would step into. Like and like they look like their own Star Kids.
Now,
there's a reference.
There's a boomer ass reference. Nice job, Jerrad.
Throwback to Star Kid from the 90s.
Let's not say we didn't. Okay. So that's the end of episode 4. And
we have one more scene,
Is
Sean.
there one more scene?
Yes, where the same fucking X-Wing fighter is now on the planet. Oh, God,
that's right. Is this guy the only X-Wing cop in the entire system?
He's one of them, but Carl Weathers is very hesitant to give him a statement because earlier in the episode he was like, "Everyone should just leave us alone. We don't want to fuck with like the Republic. We don't want to fuck with the Empire. Like everyone, we just want to be our own thing. We're on the Outer Rim. Fuck them." And then he goes and like has this conversation with our Marshal Shock Trooper, and he was like, "I know you were like." We find out she was from Alderaan.
Yeah.
Before it was blown up.
Which,
and that's
good sense, good drive there.
And then he, like, he just goes into the speech, and then he sets down, like, basically a badge with
I'm not going to lie, that thing looks like an ashtray.
I had another thought.
But it probably sounds better than commemorative ashtray in Star Wars.
No, when he sets down, like, this little...
there.
No, when he sets down like this little tiny badge with like the Republic symbol on it, I was mostly looking at the center and I was like, holy shit, that looks so close to the Green Ranger's power coin.
So I was right about Power Rangers in one sense.
Like the rebel symbol and the Green Ranger's power coin, like the symbol on the Green Ranger's power coin looked shockingly close, and I was like,
Well,
"It's the Green Ranger's power coin in a badge."
George Lucas is notorious for stealing shit from other people, so who knows? Maybe he was a hack fraud who was a big Super Sentai fan. And he's like, "This will look cool."
I don't know if I think that season of Super Sentai came out after Star Wars.
Then George Lucas is a fraud who steals things from the future. That's my belief.
But yeah, then we cut to the end. I think those scenes actually might have been in reverse, but
possibly
either or
doesn't matter.
Okay. We then cut to the end credits and all that. So my theories about the guys in the tube.
Okay, yes.
I think this is the beginning of the First Order, and that was like their first attempts at Snoke, which makes me concerned for the child's well-being. I don't think the child's going to make it to the end of the Mandalorian.
Okay.
Or they're going to find some other Jedi and do basically the same thing. But I think that was their first attempt at Snoke.
Okay.
Or two, it's either their first attempt at Snoke or to make Sith, make Force users.
Okay.
That's my theories.
All right. Those are theories. I'll give you that. My theory is, again, the Dark Trooper theory. Like, I think those were people who were supposed to be bio-enhanced, and, like, something about the child's blood helps influence IM ratings to help heal while they're in power armor so that they don't destroy themselves from the inside. And these people are the
Force healing. Force healing is like super rare though. Like only
right.
I think only
maybe something
Ray
else.
and the child have ever done it.
Maybe something else. Maybe like the Dark Troopers like get a constant Bacta injection or whatever their healing drug is, and that like it constantly keeps healing them, except they need something to level it out. And like everybody in the tube seemed like very bulbous, like they've got tumors. Like maybe they accidentally got too much healing juice pumped in them. I don't know.
I'm still thinking this was like the first attempts at like making Snoke, because even Snoke was super deformed.
See, this is my theory. I think they're going to completely ignore the second trilogy. Disney's already started to try and distance themselves from it, and I think that that's only going to continue with this series. My thoughts are they are going to completely and totally step away from that and say that's a different universe or something. And the real universe is going to be expanded from here, and they're going to use the Mandalorian as like a jumping point for the next series of movies.
Oh, well, I mean, there's already more TV shows planned from what I've heard.
Right.
Like, they have a few different TV shows planned. That's
my theory.
I guess we'll have to see with that one. I also think that we're gonna get a head, basically everything coming to a head with we're gonna have him go to Ahsoka Tano, and then Bo-Katan will show up because she is tracking Moff Gideon, with Moff Gideon tracking Mando. So they'll all kind of converge at one point, and Ahsoka is going to be how they combat the Darksaber, and eventually Bo-Katan or Mando maybe will end up with it.
Maybe. I don't see Mando as somebody who puts himself in a leadership role. He's very much the lone wolf style who reacts better in the universe around him. So I think leaving it in the hands of Bo-Katan would probably be for the best for the show.
I think it's all gonna depend on what happens with the child.
Yes.
Like I think if like the Empire catches the child and subsequently the child dies because of their experiments and shit like that, Mando is going to lose his shit, and he may assume a leadership role, basically to wage all-out war with them.
Maybe it'd be interesting. But
I mean, I don't see Disney killing their cash cow like that. But
it would be very off-brand.
It would be like a shock and all that, like, because all the child stuff is like like they kept the child stuff on lock for a while after the first season. Then they just came out with all of it at once.
Yeah.
Like 3 months ago, it was like, here's your pops, here's your action figures, here's your T-shirts, here's your Darksaber action figure, here's all of it. Take it.
Yeah.
Like, I'm guilty. I have a child pop. I do. I have one.
You are such a disappointment to me, Jerrad.
Well, dude, I have a wall of pops. You know this.
Their horrible dead eyes stare at you.
I have all the Yu Yu Hakusho collection. I have all the Shazam family. I have a lot of them.
And just like that, we're not talking about Star Wars no more.
Oh, I have Star Wars ones too. I have Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, Chewbacca, Quora from the Han Solo movie, and the Donnie Yen's character from Rogue One.
Jerrad, no one cares about that. What people care about is Mandalorian and that cute little baby that devours sentience and nourishes itself on the death of innocence. But that's just our thoughts. What did you guys think?
That's your thought, okay? Don't let me in with that.
Those are our thoughts, specifically mine and Jerrad's. I speak for us both.
No, you don't.
I speak for both. I'm like a two-person Lorax.
No, he is not.
Either way, thank you all for tuning in. We'll see you back here next time, where we're actually going to skip the final to the denouement, and we'll just roll it in for the final 3 episodes for the episode after this. But next time we're going to discuss something a little different, something new, and perhaps mutanty. We'll see you back here next time, everybody. Later,
everybody.